phenomenal guests with me here tonight. For those of you who are watching for the first time, I am Gamer Mom Luna, and I am very, very excited to introduce them all. So I'm going to go around, and if you guys just want to give us a quick kind of who you are and give us one interesting character that you've played in the past as part of your intro. And then we will move on to the next person. And then we'll find out a little more about those characters as we talk. So let's see. Sinan, let's start with you.
Oh, me. All right. Well,
Surprise!
Hello, everyone. My name is Sinan. I'm part of the Dice Tyrants with Shannon, somewhere here. The one who was waving. I'm part of their Chronicles of Kind game on Sundays and Aether of Steamworks on Tuesdays, and I'm the GM of Savage World of Darkness, which Luna is a part of as well.
Yeah.
With Shannon. And besides that, I'm an actor and producer in New York, and an interesting character I've played. I've done well. On our Tuesday game in Aether and Steamworks, I play a very grouchy steampunk cowboy that sees 3 ghosts that he's killed in the past who keep tormenting him, one of which just keeps actively trying to kill everyone in the party. And our DM loves to make him try to come out all the time. And then when that happens, it becomes the whole party's responsibility to just give resources to me to keep him in, which becomes a big journey, which it's a character I really like. And besides that, I just keep complaining about everything and just try to find the right boot size from the enemies because a character shot a hole in my boot the first episode. So.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. And I know nothing about playing grumpy characters. I mean, not a thing.
It's a blast.
You're right. It is. It's really fun. Disc, why don't you go next?
Hello, I'm Removed Disc. I am going to be starting the campaign for Tabletop Tavern 2 with Luna next week. Super excited for that. And probably one of my favorite characters is Set. She is a human archer in a fantasy world, Pathfinder game. She's a lot of fun to play, and she's very good at archery. She's got a cat. She actually has 2 cats that are her animal companions, and it's a whole lot of fun.
Awesome. Brad, I'm going to go over to you now.
All right, yeah, I'm Brad, a.k.a. Shambazzle, at ShambazzleGames everywhere on the interwebs. I am a forever DM, so...
You're one of those.
So settle in, and I'll talk about all the interesting characters I play. No, I think one of my favorite right now is Hilrad the Patient. He's a Harper agent and the guardian of Elventry, just east of Hillsfar in the Cormanthor Forest. He's a wizened wizard, and he's actually from the Forgotten Realms lore, and I really love playing him. He's
cool.
kind of integral in where my players are currently in our actual play.
Awesome. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. AtomicZero.
Hey everyone, I'm AtomicZero, or Brian. A lot of you might know me from our Monday night stream here on How I Nerd, where I play Jesse Raines, a lovely little character, and he would be a little bit too easy for a favorite character of mine. So I hinted about this the last time I was on the Tales, but probably my favorite character I played, I kept it in Vizgard from the Dunials. It was a dwarven pirate barbarian I played in a campaign for a very long time, and I loved the little guy.
That's awesome. I love it. I always love when people are good at voices because I suck at voices. So
that is not true. You can do that. What the lady from I always see you in my Wazowski or whatever your little.
Well, and that's actually very appropriate because we just got raided by Cyclone Jack, and that's actually an alert that he has set up for me in his channel. I'm always watching you, Wazowski. Always watching. Shannon, why don't you go next and introduce yourself, please?
I'm Shannon, and I'm Blitzen Gamer, and I was thinking about all of the things that you guys were saying, and then now I have to think of my own thing, which I should have probably been doing while you guys were all being entertaining. Actually, my favorite character I've played is Offstream, and it's in Aether and Steamworks, which is the game that we play on Dice Tyrants that my husband, Lot Evenstar, Tyson Burris actually wrote and is GMing, but she's a bodgy goblin. So it's like a little goblin that goes like this all the time. And I get to be super obnoxious. And she's a cook. And then she tinkers on everything. So if you turn around for like 2 seconds, she takes apart everything. And she's super fun. Crazy characters are fun to play when you don't have to like have any holds barred. Like, just I'm going to be crazy and obnoxious, and it's gonna be fun. So I like playing those characters.
Nice. That's
because it's really just who I am in general. But
yeah, it is fun when you get to do that. So like I said, I am Gamer Mom Luna, better known as Luna. But I go by Gamer Mom Luna everywhere on the internet, and I think. My favorite character that I've ever played, it's tough because I really want to pick one of the ones from one of the streams that I'm in, but that would be far too easy. So I think I will say a couple years ago, and by a couple I mean probably like, I don't know, 7, 8, 10. I played a character who was a centaur who couldn't go up and down stairs because horse legs. And that was really hard. So I had to make a dice roll every time I went up and down stairs. So, yeah. So that was fun. So yeah, I enjoyed that character a lot. She was really bad at navigating stairs.
Stay away from like any monasteries or like mile climb up a hill.
So interestingly enough, the majority of that campaign ended up happening as a dungeon crawl. It was not pretty because, the party would be like, we go up the stairs and I'm like, guys, wait for me. I'm just going to pull myself up the stairs now. Yeah.
Dramatic anime picture. Just, oh, guys, wait.
Yeah.
Just like slipping and all 4 legs going all over the place.
The sweat flying off because I'm working so hard at trying to
just multi-class into a mage or a wizard and just like cast fly on yourself everywhere.
Right?
Well, there you go.
That's what I should have done.
There are never any villains that just live in like single level ranchers.
I was gonna say it's a universe full of ranches everywhere.
So rude.
That would be way too easy.
Whatever happened to the opulent ranch style home?
Yeah, so modest and elegant, but just lost.
This way the struggle built character, right?
They could absolutely then they could spend all their money on like evil villain weapons and stuff, and
that's right.
Yeah,
little turrets and towers, little tower defense games.
Yeah, we have to have 5 spiral staircases going everywhere to defeat the centaurs, apparently.
Oh, yeah, it was bad. So for those of you who are new in chat and have never watched our show before, we do encourage people to ask us questions. We're all kind of keeping an eye on chat, so feel free to, if you have questions for anybody, feel free to ask away. Outside of that, I think we'll get the ball rolling with, let's see. One of my favorite questions that I always have to ask everybody, and Mike's probably shaking his head right now because he knows what it is. Do your dice have to match?
Yeah.
Do they have to, like, you mean like match themselves or match the character, or like how do like?
So I am somebody who I have to play with a set of dice. Like they have to all be the same from the same set. So are you one of those people, or are you like somebody who curates your dice based on your character, or how do you do that?
I am both. So I've got, a ton of different sets of dice for a ton of different characters, and when I GM, each NPC has their own specific set of dice that I have to roll for them, and all of my dice are the best. I'm just going to say that.
Fair enough.
But do you have a dice jail, and do you like give them timeout, or do you keep them all in play at all times, regardless of how well they're performing?
I do have a dice jail, but that's mostly for my players because as a GM, I find it very hard to roll underneath the 15.
Am I the only one who wants to know how you fit your players in a dice jail?
I mean,
it's a big jail.
It's like,
big dice.
Yeah.
I just fold them up real good, little origami. Stick them in there.
Get in there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I actually use an empty one of these for
these.
Oh, do you? Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
I'm actually one of those people where besides high school or since high school, I've only ever played online, so all my dice are virtual. But I have my own little collection of dice, and they do match just because I buy sets. So I don't really know what it would be like if I actually had the opportunity to be in person and have like a reason why. I feel like I'm the type of person where I see dice online or on Instagram or anything else. I'm like, I want to buy these dice. I'm like, I need to make a character just for these dice. So I think I'd probably be like that, like where my dice would have to match my character. So I'd need a set for every in-person character I would play. But I'm guessing because everything else is just kind of like either Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or anything else like that.
Gotcha.
I tried to do get different dice for every player in my IRL game, and for every NPC, or like not every NPC, but I tried to separate a bunch of sets. But then once I had them on the table, it just became a free for all, whether or not I tried to enforce it or not. So I thought I was the person who was just no, I need the same set, but at the end of the day, I just realized how not practical that became for me, and I realized how little I cared at the end of the day. But at first, I thought I was one of those people, and then I disappointed myself severely.
That's good. Come to the dark side. Mine don't.
Yeah, just chaos.
Mine don't have to match.
Chaos.
Oh, mine totally have to match. Also, I have a terrible addiction, and I think I'm up to 15 sets of dice now.
That was after you gave away a couple at PAX, right?
Well, no, the ones that I gave away at PAX were ones that we specifically got for giving away. Like, this wasn't even giving away my own sets. Although I did give away a set to somebody last year who did not own their own set of dice, and I happened to have a set that was in their favorite color. So I sent it to them, and then the dice gods rewarded me with a set of metal dice at Christmas. So
oh damn,
karma.
Thanks for
Karma.
that.
Real.
Yeah. So yeah.
The universe provides.
That's right.
Yeah, right. I know. And then I guess it was a couple months ago, I ended up buying another set of dice because they're metal color changing dice, and I was like, that's it.
I won some of those on one of the How I Nerd giveaways as a fan. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, they're super fun. The ones that I ordered, they're based on the heat of your hand or whatever. And so if you hold them long enough, they go from a dark blue to purple.
They do a pretty good range too. They could be orange and green too. I had my 8-year-old like tripping out on it. Like it's showing you your aura color. And then like Tyson and I, his dad and I were like sitting like drinking coffee, or he had like a cold drink, so we would like make it different colors because our hand was changing, and he was like super into it for a while. So we got magic dice from How I Nerd actually.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Nice. There you go.
We have
Playing to your children is fun.
So follow and subscribe.
Couple different questions I saw.
I was gonna say we're getting a bunch of questions coming in now.
Nice.
So let's see. Cyclone Jack wants to know, what is your favorite alignment and why?
Ooh.
I like alignments.
Yeah, can I start by splashing the pot right away?
Yeah.
Kind of in a similar boat.
Well, I'll tell you what is not my favorite alignment for me personally. My least favorite alignment is lawful good.
Oh yeah, hands down.
Yeah,
I tried to play a
guys.
character once that was based on She-Ra, like the old school 1980s She-Ra. And so I made a paladin because I was like, that's got to be what she is. And I lasted literally 30 minutes, and I was like, I cannot do this. Like, this is so not happening.
She-Ra gone bad.
Yeah, pretty much.
My GM is in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Hello, GM.
Yeah, Lycos from
Hey,
my
hi,
Sunday.
Lycos.
He's trying to harvest secrets.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's hard because I'm the same way, either as a player or when I DM. I don't hold people to alignment, but in terms of like textbook definitions of alignment, I feel like personally, if I'm playing like an RPG, like a video game or something like that, I typically go towards the good lawful side. But I feel like when I just want to have fun with the tabletop, I usually go more towards either chaotic neutral, chaotic good. I have yet to be able to experience an evil campaign, but I can only imagine chaotic evil being fun too. So I think that anywhere on the chaotic side is fun, or that's typically where people tend to trend because it's just anything can happen. And I feel like that's the fun part of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
That's where I always end up if I have to pick. It's chaotic good because it's like, well, I generally tend to be like want to be a good character anyway, and then I want to do whatever the hell I want.
I think I gotta echo that. Chaotic good is probably my most played alignment when I do get to play, or when I pretend that I'm playing, when I fantasize about playing. But I'm kind of with the masses there. When it comes to alignment for me, I think alignment, just like all of us in our daily lives, is flexible based on our influences and the choices that we make. So I've always kind of taken it that way in game. I usually only use alignment as kind of like a barometer to start, particularly for newer players who are trying to figure out how a player might act in a certain situation. With a lot of my veteran players, we don't even talk alignment. I just say, hey, which way are you oriented? Let's talk about like orientation, moral orientation instead of alignment so much.
I would like now a bumper sticker that says, I am alignment fluid.
Alignment fluid. That's right.
Yeah, that would be a fun one.
Conform to your alignment norms.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's my problem with the alignment.
They'd be like, okay, chaotic neutral, got it. All right.
It's like people change, and one of the parts of like a story, a hero's journey, is that you like change as it goes, and things affect you. And I sometimes see people just get stuck on that. Oh, no, I'm neutral something, or I'm this, and don't allow that to happen. That sometimes it really bothers me. But I like it as a starting point, and as for the alignment, I like, though, I feel like I'm repeating what's said, chaotic good for me too. I like to think chaotic neutral, but I just always end up being good. I just can't help myself. And, you know, screw the system, whatever. whatever I want.
It's like good with some flexibility, you know?
Exactly. And I feel like that's one of the good parts of chaotic. You can just like, you know, you can be fluid with it.
That's right.
I like to play on the line of chaotic good and lawful neutral.
I always tend to think of alignment. I mean, you know, there's always like, you know, if you think of it as, you know, lawful versus whatever the other end of the spectrum is.
Neutral.
And then, and then, you know, just I tend to look at it more as like a grid as opposed to like a line, you know, that you fall on, you know, so like you could be a little bit this and then a little bit this. So you kind of fall in this quadrant as opposed to, you know, like being set on a fixed place on a point. I don't know.
Sense.
That's just kind of how I.
So we all hate commitment, basically.
Yeah, that's what we're getting. Yeah. This is going to turn into an argument because we're literally all in agreement. So.
Right.
Good job. Go team.
Moving on.
Team awesome. Go.
I'll agree.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so do all of you play online games right now?
Yes. I play some. Well, now I do.
Now
I play,
you do. Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a question about for those of you who play online, do you prefer Fantasy Grounds or Roll20?
Roll20.
It's $1 million question.
Yeah.
I have not played on Roll20. I have only played on Fantasy Grounds.
Same.
Fantasy Grounds for me too. Because I have more experience in it. And that's actually been most of my TTRPG playing experience, except for the time I DM'd in real life a couple of times. But I just very recently played Roll20 and it was fun, but it seemed more simpler, which I liked, but I haven't experienced it enough to really make a call.
Yeah.
I've done both. I've done mostly Roll20. I've only done Savage Worlds for the campaign we're doing on How I Nerd. And it's kind of hard to say because they both do different things well. And they're both set up for very different things. Like, I feel like Roll20 is amazing if you want to do anything Wizards of the Coast oriented. Like, they're really set up to be like the true D&D 5e kind of like electronic setup if there was one. I feel like they do a very good job with that. And it's a very... you need to like know macros and programming if you really want to customize it for any type of game. Savage Worlds, for me, I feel, at least with the UI design and the user interface design, it's a lot easier to do a plug and play, and also Savage Worlds does a better job of allowing the players to have material in front of them without having like PDFs open or a book in front of them or anything else like that. So I think they both do good things. It's just, I guess it really depends on, once again, I think it depends on the player and the team that's playing it.
That's a really good point. I think this question always seems to just come down to preference, and that preference is usually based on like wherever you started or wherever you have the most miles in.
Pretty much.
I've found I've run Roll20 games. I'm actually ramping up to start a few now. I haven't run one in a little while, except for a solo campaign that I did, which was really interesting. I found Fantasy Grounds seemed a little bit more. It felt tighter, like it was a little bit more stable. It felt a little more solid to play in. But I feel like kind of to your point, Atomic, R20 just has the PR. Right, like R20 just has the reach. I think they're tied in now with Critical Role more succinctly. They're deeply tied in with Wizards and everything that they're releasing for D&D 5e and then some. And they've got a lot more spread to support different types of games and TTRPGs, which I think is appealing to a lot of people. And let's not forget, like it's free on both sides of this screen. Fantasy Grounds, from what I understand, tends to be a little bit more punishing for DMs because you have to really heavily invest. I'm happy to be corrected on that because I haven't gone down that path, but from what I've heard from DMs who run games a lot in Fantasy Grounds, it tends to be a little bit more cost prohibitive.
Yeah, we use Fantasy Grounds for all of our shows on this channel, and I don't DM, but from my understanding from the people who do, Mike and Decider 12, both have had to buy, like, as long as they buy the Ultimate license, everybody else can run the demo version. And so then you have to buy like, the modules and stuff to be able to run it. So, yeah, it can be a lot. It could be expensive on their end. I am glad that I am not a DM.
Yeah. So get those donations, get those bits in chat, because that's going to help How I Nerd run more games and keep it entertaining for y'all.
And I also I know like in Roll20, because I DM in Roll20, and I know like they have a little bit more flashy things, but I also think it's because they have a bigger they probably have a bigger budget behind them and things like that. And plus with the modding community with Roll20, you can do just about anything. So it's once again, it's what you really want to do in terms of animations, dynamic lighting, fog of war, or whatever else. It really just I think it really is what you start with and kind of what people trend towards. If you're trying to find a game, Roll20 is usually easier because they have looking for group options and being able to apply and like find different games to start up with. I'm not super great with Fantasy Grounds, but I know like anything I've ever did in Fantasy Grounds, like I went in with a team that was doing a game that we already had set up. So I'm not sure if Roll20 just has a community factor to it as well.
I don't even know that. Does Fantasy Grounds have a community other than like any kind of hookup or anything?
Oh, I don't think they have a hookup, but I know they have a website and everything else.
Yeah, they have a website. That's kind of how I found Dice Tyrants, to be honest. I mean, that's how I used to just find games back in college, and then got nostalgic and looked into it, and I saw them looking for players. So they do have a community, but as far as I know, it's much smaller than Roll20.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I think it's really just, it's a size thing, but once again, it's also perfect. I think both do good things.
I like that it's app based too. That's always kind of appealed to me, but I know that can kind of polarize things a little bit too. A lot of people like the browser based, I guess, architecture Roll20, but
that's true.
I've always liked Fantasy Grounds being app based, but it does kind of, that puts you in a position of how well is your, how good's your hardware. Not that it's super intensive to run, but I've enjoyed that because I can,
But it can be a challenge too if you're
sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it can be a challenge too because if you're running like a Discord and then Fantasy Grounds and then maybe you have a stream open and then it's like just a lot of things that you have to manage. But I know for me personally, if I were bouncing back and forth between like tabs and a browser, like that would be, I think, almost harder for me. That's just me though. And Mike actually brought up a good point in chat too. He also said there's Fantasy Grounds University. So
that's true.
Yeah, which is an awesome resource. We got to have Laren on, who is the founder of Fantasy Grounds University, on our show a few weeks ago, and it was great just kind of getting to pick his brain about different things about Fantasy Grounds. So
straight from the horse's mouth,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Because now they have they have Kickstarter projects now for like 3D versions of both, right? Because you can do I've seen some projects where they have like a 3D virtual tabletop versus a 2D platform for both like Roll20 Fantasy Grounds. So I'm curious to see where that technology goes.
Yeah.
To see if it's actually going to be able to be like you actually are able to pick up your 3D piece and move them along, and if have like animated combat or anything else like that. So I'm curious to see what the next iteration of technology is for like the RPG spectrum.
Tabletop simulator.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Like that, like the next iteration of that.
Yeah. That's like the third player that you don't hear as much about is Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah.
It's like the VTT arms race. That's what we're in the middle of right now.
Tabletop Simulator is a lot of fun to play on, but it's so much work to set up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Tailspire Eminian. Something like that. Tailspire Eminian, something like that. It's what Mike linked it. Yeah, it's the Kickstarter campaign that he backed. Yeah, because I know there's a couple different versions of it. At least that's the main one.
Does Fantasy Grounds support animated maps?
I don't know that they do right now, but they just dropped the beta for Fantasy Grounds Unity.
Yeah.
That'll get.
So I don't know. I haven't gotten to look at that yet. I know I've talked to 2 different DMs who are like, I want to do a trial run, and just nobody's had time to set it up yet.
I know. I mean, I've had a similar experience.
Yeah. I know I do enjoy it. Like everybody's always like, well, why do you like Fantasy Grounds? Well, because that's all I've used. So I can't tell you much more than that, but
that's it.
That's not a preference picking. It's just this is what was presented to me and what I learned how to use because I am just the player. So
right.
I'll do whatever.
So while we're on the topic of Fantasy Grounds versus Roll20, another question that came in was considering current world events, what advice would those of you who do play online give for those GMs looking to switch from running an IRL game to running virtually?
It's a lot different. It is a lot different.
Yeah, it's very different. But I'd say, sorry, go on.
You gotta set up all the maps and stuff on the line. You gotta get everybody's character arts and stuff. But once you have all that, it's very similar. I guess you can still use your own dice and roll. Just have to make sure everybody's fair about it. But all of them do have their own, built-in dice rolling and all that stuff. So it's a little bit more convenient, especially when you have people who live an hour and a half away, Decider 12 in your IRL game, who don't want to make the drive every now and then. I understand that. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot easier when you're on.
I definitely say my first bit of advice would just be to do it because it seems like it's a massive hurdle, and I know a lot of people have there's a lot of hesitation when it comes to moving virtual, whether it's your mic quality or PC setup or trying to find people or anything else like that, or basically just putting yourself out there. I say just do it. I know I was a long time player and then first time DM when I went to Electronic, and it's the same thing. Whether it's Savage Worlds or Roll20, it seems like there's a lot. It seems like between the maps and the tokens and the layers and potentially all the other mechanics you want to use or whatever else, there's tons of different things you can do. But I think the biggest thing is just to do it at the end of the day. It's as simple as, having basically a screen rather for maps and anything you need to display. And then you just need an audio setup. So it can be as basic or as advanced as you want it to be, but it's definitely one of those things for people that are in remote areas or anything else like that. It's a good system. I do like it, and I've enjoyed doing it virtually.
Yeah.
When I
don't overthink
started
it, for sure.
Yeah, when I started, the first year and a half of playing online, I just used my computer microphone that was just built into it.
Yep.
It works, so it's.
Yep. Yeah. That's a good point too. It's easy when you you watch a lot of people streaming and more people streaming now, especially given the circumstances and I guess the fact that it's a great fit for now. From a silver linings perspective, but don't feel that you have to match that because you'll see a lot of hanging mics and green screens and studio lights and stuff like that. But nobody started there, so just don't set your own expectations for yourself. That's actually where I am at right now. I'm starting to move more into online and starting to plan more online games, so I can really appreciate that. A couple of things that I would do right off the bat is I find audio is almost more important than video because if you have a good audio solution, Discord's free. to get audio clear and make sure that you have something that can handle multiple people talking at once. Those are the types of things that you have to learn. You know, listening skills are really important at the table in real life anyway, but when you come into an audio format, you get even better at it, or you have to get even better at it, just kind of waiting your turn to talk. That's one thing that was a big learn for me. Also, go through the tutorials. The tutorials in Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds are really good, and they'll walk you through it. Then just open one, start a game, and get in there and play as a player. And then if you're still really nervous, then get one person that you really trust, you're comfortable with, and just do a quick little solo game. Keep it bite-sized. Do a one-shot. Don't get into, like, you know, Tyranny of Dragons on your first time out. And just ease your way into it. But like Atomic said, don't overthink it, because then you can get into paralysis, you know, and you'll just psych yourself out and you'll never get into it. So.
And you basically learn by doing anyway. I mean, mistakes are going to happen. Things might go wrong, and once it happens, you know how to deal with that when that comes up again. I learned like there was a lot of mistakes when I started DMing in our stream in Soundtrail of Darkness. Like most of those mistakes never happened again after that.
Yeah,
and they
You
were
also-
very hilarious mistakes.
They were hilarious mistakes.
They were all
That's
mistakes.
gold.
It was
And
just
the other thing
getting
too-
glitches out.
The other thing too with Sinan's game is not only was it him like venturing out into DMing an online game, but it was also a mesh of Savage Worlds and World of Darkness. So having to take both of those and mix them together on top of having to DM that for everybody.
Oh yeah, I set up myself to fail just to enjoy how crazy that would become once it did, and like all the hilarious situation we'd find ourselves in. It's wacky as it's crazy.
Yeah.
To that end too, like just focus on getting in there. Don't try to like start online and stream it at the same time and be a podcaster. Like that can be a
that's what I was going to say too.
That's a lot of tech to handle.
Yeah, I think people hear online game and they immediately think, oh, that means I'm going to have to stream it. You don't have to stream it, just play it, you know, like have fun with your friends. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, no one needs to be like famous or become the next Critical Role to have fun. Just enjoy yourself, and if everyone's on the same page, maybe transition over. But realistically, the whole point of tabletop is to have fun at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's a game.
Yeah.
After all, it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing roleplay.
Online or offline. That's a good rule.
Definitely.
Just making voices and creating crazy situations.
Cracking
how
jokes
we kill
and
that
funny
one
voices.
person.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So how long have you all been playing TTRPGs?
I've been playing since high school at least, but it's been off and on since then. Like I had a decent stint in high school for like a year or so, then a big long gap, and then I started playing up again kind of after graduation. So I've been about, at least let's just say since I've been doing it like really serious full time, probably about 6-7 years as of late.
Okay. Anybody else?
You're so young.
I'm waiting to see if anyone started earlier than I did before I speak.
I started in like sophomore year in high school, which was like 2001 or 2. So I've been playing that long.
I'm a baby. I've been playing for 8 years since I was 16.
Oh wow.
So
it's not helping my case.
Right?
I'm pretty new too. I started playing properly around college. Before then, I'm originally from Turkey, and there's not a lot of TTRPG gaming stores or like gaming culture. I mean, there is a little bit of it, but I by chance never ran into those. But I've always wanted to try it. And then when I came to the States and I was in college, I found Fantasy Grounds actually on Steam, and was like, oh, this seems interesting, and started getting really into it. Then gave a 3-year break when I got into grad school, and then when I came out and later on, I just got into it again and started doing in real life stuff. So it's something like 8 years for me too, but in college.
Yeah, I think everybody always has a little like break in between where there's, I think we call it 4E. But
that's where I started.
Played 4E.
Yeah.
I just played 3.5 until 5 came out.
just power through.
3.5.
Just power through. I started in in early 90s. I started kind of getting into it late 80s. Yeah, and then into early 90s, and I only ever played. I never actually got to run, but I had the same solid crew. You know, we spent a lot of beautiful sunny summer afternoons hiding out in the basement, casting tales and spinning narrative with each other, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I kind of broke off after second edition, or that's the AD&D.
AD&D, yes,
yeah,
thank you. People don't even know what that is. They're like, what is that?
I know. I like to throw Thaco out there just to make sure everybody knows how cool I am. And then me and a bunch of theater friends of mine actually fell back in love with it in 5e. And I think it was just, you know, there are pundits and proponents on both sides of 5e, obviously, as are every edition. But what we really liked was kind of the ease of use and how easy it was to get back into it and just get into playing with mechanics that made sense for us, particularly as people were coming back into the game. You know, it was 2e was really heavily kind of mod based, and it was very mathy, and it had a lot of great benefits too. But 5e was the right system at the right time for us, and that's what got us back in.
My original DM was had straight up like legitimate OCD, which worked really, really well for AD&D, because he'd make all the maps and he'd do all the things and calculate all the numbers, and he had the whole thing. I couldn't do it. I just was like, okay, screw this. Let's make up a story because this is hurting my eyes. But as a player, it was okay. I wouldn't want to DM it though.
Yeah, there's well, I learned about the company. They make t-shirts and stuff, and most of them are gaming related, and a lot of them are tabletop gaming related. And they have a t-shirt that says, you know, like back in Thaco or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can't buy it because I didn't start that early. I started with 3.5, but yeah, I've been playing for probably about 12 years now. But I won't tell you how old I was, because then you guys can math, and that's
well, we just covered that we can't math with Thaco, so I
that's
think
true. That's true. But I'm sure there's somebody out there who can math, and yes.
Fair.
And 3.5 is okay. I had some friends over that were in their early 20s, and they were playing. They were live testing our Aether and Steamworks home game, and I had my 3.5 edition. I have a monster manual. I have some of the books. I think I have 3 of them. And this girl, she was like 22, and she's adorable, and I love her. But she's like, "Oh my god, look at the vintage D&D books!" I'm like, "Girl, get out of my living room!"
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
So it's still vintage. It works.
You can tell someone's IRL alignment whether it's pronounced Thaco or Taco.
Ooh, taco.
That's right.
That's
and
funny.
I didn't know that was an option.
I know.
I almost always pick taco.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, Shamboozle there, what kind of lighting do you use? Because if you're like older than me, I want to know how you look so young on camera.
I subscribe to like 30 filters. That's where most of my gaming budget goes.
Let's chat later.
It's like Instagram, but on a live stream.
That's
right. He has lots of little cat ears like he's on Snapchat.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny. That would be hilarious.
All my trade secrets would come out after. Here,
I love it. Yeah, chat's all like, it wasn't that bad. No, it was the devil. Going back to Thaco. Yeah, that's funny. So
Shamboozle instead of Shambazzle. You should correct me for these things.
I get that more frequently, actually. So
yeah,
maybe I'm the one who's wrong. Sorry, that's a Canadian me. I'm like, no, I'm wrong.
No,
I'm wrong.
I don't know what my name is.
My name wrong. It's my fault.
I can change. It's all good.
It's okay. It's okay. So while we're on the subject of, you know, like when we started, what are some systems that you guys really enjoy? And what are some systems that you perhaps think could never be played again?
Oh, that's pretty good. I don't know. I've the main 3 I've been playing mainly have been 5e, Shadowrun, and any one of the 40k or Warhammer 40k systems, and also been touching on Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds. I was right the first time. Yep. Savage Worlds for our stream on Monday, and I really liked all of them, and I liked all of them for different reasons. I think if I had to put one in the sense of needs improvements, I would probably say it's probably the 40k stuff, just because there's a lot of great lore and color and like this minutia to it, but the mechanics just want to make you rip your hair out because they're just. It's like you can be like session one. You're like, I'm supposed to be really good at this thing. You roll your dice, and you're like, oh, I died. Okay, that's great. New character.
To turn a door open and it killed me.
Yeah, like because it's like a D100 system. So like no matter how good you are, there's always when you first start off, you're far more likely to fail everything you do than you are to even succeed one time. So like it's just a weird system. Like it's nice if it shows advancement, but it definitely could use a lot of love. But I've mostly played 5e, I would say. And I think everyone's kind of familiar with 5e and everything else like that. I like it. I mean, I wish it'd be a little bit. I would probably like want a little bit like one extra layer of complexity to my game, which is like not Shadowrun levels of complexity, but like maybe like one additional layer kind of thing.
Happy medium somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I was being a very smug hipster with all this stuff for a while. That I got very recently into D&D 5e, and now I'm starting to really enjoy it. For a while, I was just like, there's so many other systems that I want to try. D&D is like so the usual, but now I'm like loving it. I'm also, as a horror obsessed sicko, I love Call of Cthulhu. I just love toying with people's sanity, and that's just wonderful there. And I mean, since I'm DMing basically Savage Worlds, that's also I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy how wacky things can get. How like one simple dice roll can be come
can
up
pop
with
somebody's head off.
Crazy, yeah, can pop someone's head off, like a champagne cork, which happened in our game with Luna and Shannon.
Cantrip. So that was cool.
Yeah,
because you get a very high roll for something very simple, and I'm like, well, you gotta do something amazing now. It can't just be like, oh yeah, you tap them in the head. So yeah, I guess those three are my favorites. For the most part.
I go. You go.
Already.
No, you.
Already.
You go.
So I've been playing a lot of Starfinder and Pathfinder recently. Those are probably some of my favorites. I mostly prefer Starfinder because I like sci-fi more than I like fantasy. But I've also played a little bit of 4E. That's where I started. Holds a special place in my heart. Honestly,
Aww.
it does.
Aww.
It did a couple of it did a couple of things cute.
Now I
mean,
feel like
they're
a jerk.
good.
It did.
It does.
Some of the cards and stuff. There was a few ideas that you could see where they were going with it.
There was some good nuggets in there, but most of it was not good. But I've also played like Traveler and Eclipse Phase, a couple other games here and there. They were all a lot of fun. Yeah, I definitely prefer Starfinder though.
Nice.
I've not played Starfinder.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
I'm still slightly in maybe the hipster queue. I am from Oregon, which is a thing here. But like 5e, I like 5e. I played it for a while. Like I played 3.5 and then did 4. We had a whole campaign for 4 and then was playing 5, and it was really simple. It was, like it's really easily accessible to people who haven't played TTRPGs before. Like it's easy to go, okay, this is Dungeons and Dragons and this is how it works. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, let's get it. But then kind of getting burned out with like 5e and D&D kind of in general. So searching, and even before 5e, we were searching out like different ways to play, so different systems. So White Wolf, I really like White Wolf World of Darkness, but also Exalted was one that we played for a really long time. That's basically like World of Darkness, only it's kind of like Avatar The Last Airbender-esque. I think there was actually a lawsuit based around that, if I remember correctly, from White Wolf, but like, so it's very similar. Yeah. And then like we played EverQuest, which was a lot like Pathfinder and D&D, and like the TTRPG version, not the online version. and all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of Heroes Unlimited, Hackmaster. Has anybody ever played Hackmaster?
I've never even heard of that.
Okay,
No.
it's awful, but it's great. And the funnest part of it is making a character, because like the whole character creation is all tables, and you have a D100, and so you go through and you have all of these like weird quirks and crazy things that you can get that happen to you, which counter off. So I ended up with like a overweight pixie fairy with like one ear, a missing foot, who had like some sort of weird salivating disorder. So like there's also it's just fun. Like get drunk with your friends and make a Hackmaster character. But I think like every system, somebody loved it, right? Like somebody went, oh, I want to do more of this thing. And then they made that. So there's like kind of love and excitement, I think, in every system somewhere. Even if they're crunchy as hell.
I need to take a page from all of your books. I'm a little bit pigeonholed in 5e. It's just kind of what I build all my content for and around. It comes down to time really, but I've been so intrigued by a lot of like Savage Worlds. Call of Cthulhu is something I'm desperate to play. Dungeon Crawler Classics, I've heard a lot of good things about. I think the fight it's natural when you are in a system for a long time. Like I think I'm with 5e, and I think Sinan, you were saying as well. You get to a point where you're like, okay, now I want to try a different flavor. I don't want to shake it up. And when I first started to play in 2e, that's where I got the most exposure to other systems. We played GURPS, generic universal role playing system. Heroes Unlimited too, like you mentioned, Shannon, which I loved. I had like a tech based kind of Batman-y type.
Super
hero.
fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the Star Wars D6 game we loved. What else did we play there? There was there were a couple of D&D offshoots. There was Council of Worms. I don't know if you remember that. You play as dragons. There's
Worms with a Y.
Worms, yeah, Warums. Council of Warums. Means dragons.
I'm in. Let's play.
It was great. And Red Steel and Birthright. Birthright was another really great D&D offshoot, which is kind of like an after 20 type setting where you played. I played a priestess of Lathander, and I had to build like a temple and kind of. It was pretty cool. Yeah, it goes beyond 20, and like you're already hyper powered. So then, what do super jacked up heroes do when when there's no one else to kill, I guess, and no innocence to pester?
Gosh,
It's a philosophy game.
I actually never ventured outside of D&D until just a few years ago. So my knowledge is very limited. But I mean, I'm D&D is my starting ground, so obviously that always is going to hold a special place in my heart. But like, I'm really getting into Savage Worlds now that I'm seeing it more and playing it more. And then actually just last night I started reading through Kids on Bikes and getting to know that system a little bit because I'm a little curious about that. One of the other players in one of our shows has been talking about it a little bit and looking at it, and I was like, hey, what can you tell me about it? He's like, why don't you just look at the book? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could do that.
Third, man.
Yeah.
You have nothing else to do. Come on.
Well,
Yeah, right.
I know.
Luna is always bored. That's all she's ever saying. Why don't I have more to do?
Why do I not participate in 4 streams every week and moderate a couple others?
Get
and
on it,
holding
Luna.
a full-time job and being a mother,
Right? Yeah, and work full time
Slacker.
and be a single mom. I mean, sorry, like, because I don't have nearly enough time in my day. So, oh yeah, somebody just said, "Oh, Luna, we needed to get you some Tales from the Loop action." All right.
Oh, Tales from the Loop is a fun one too.
Yeah.
Tales from the Loop.
Oh, I've always wanted to try that one. That looks so nice.
That is a very. It actually made a TV series. I forget which streaming service is doing it, but they actually made a show on it. Tales of the Loop. Yeah, I forget. I just saw an article that they started production on it, and I forget. I don't know if it was Amazon or who else, but yeah, they actually made a show based on the TTRPG system.
Nice. That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing. It's a fun little concept.
Huh.
We're
It
learning
says
things.
Amazon
right?
is doing it apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say I knew someone was doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what they do with it because it is a really cool system.
Mm.
I'll have to look into it.
I have to get exposed. Gotta get out there. Gotta experience some other TTRPG.
There's so many.
I do.
So many.
Yeah.
Another system I've been wanting to play has been Fate Core. Has anyone tried that one? Like
I've
read the rules
seen
of it, but I haven't managed to play it yet. But it seems like such a cool system where it's just you create the story as a table, and like getting into bad situations is kind of initiated by the players more than the DM almost. Where and as you go, the story just generates itself in an interesting way. That's one I've read up on that I really wanted to try.
That's cool.
Just to add to the pile.
Yeah.
I've seen
lists.
Oh, a really fun game that I ran just once, and it's an engine set around just like one shots. It's called Fear Itself. You all just like have a couple of points, and like each and every player has their own world, and like you start off the game, everybody like says what their world is, and based on like the order they're sitting around the table, the person to the right or the left of the GM, they say something, the next person says their world, and the person to the right or at the left again says like a twist in that world, and the next person, everybody like down the line all the way to the end, and then you go the opposite way for characters, and each character has their own twists and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun to play, but it's very complicated. It took like 12 hours to play one game.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
It's like
The streamability is a little low.
Oh yeah, streamability is low, but it's fun.
Yeah.
That does
Oh
sound fun.
gosh. So Lycos asked a question actually that I want to throw out to you guys. They said, I've seen some people say that GMs run the game they want to play the most, and as a GM, it's definitely true for me. What would your ideal game system, story, anything be to play in?
Ooh, considering I play in his game, his preferred world, that's a lot of fun that I'm playing in for him. But my ideal one would probably be some sort of, again, a Starfinder game that I'd be playing in, set around like corporate espionage kind of deal. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
What's more fun than corporate espionage?
Yeah,
Exactly. You're just like agents of one corporation trying to steal the secrets of another one. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, like a purely like non-combat based system where it's purely just a bunch of talking, sneaking, and all like hacking and all this other stuff, just purely trying to get a leg up and be the bigger, better company.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting concept on its own to think about. Like, okay, do GMs typically choose the worlds that they want to play? And I think it makes sense because I think there's a level of comfort thing there, right? When you're a GM, it's less that you have to materialize when you're already familiar with the setting. I to that end, I suppose I've always kind of veered towards fantasy and D&D. Like I said, I'm kind of a one-trick pony right now. But if I could choose how to flex that into something that I think I would personally find a little bit better, I'd like to see, I like the fantasy tropes and maybe the lore and the things that I'm familiar with in the Forgotten Realms setting, specifically with the high fantasy elements of D&D, but I'd like to have the more narrative play like you see in Call of Cthulhu or some other systems where it's less hack and slashy, like Atomic mentioned too, where I love D&D, but I always play really heavy narrative, intrigue, mystery, and I feel like my GM brain is a Call of Cthulhu brain, but my practice is like D&D and high fantasy and kind of the three pillars of role play, combat, and exploration. So I think a perfect like Call of Cthulhu D&D baby, like would be ideal for me. Or some other system I don't even know. That's right.
Yeah, for me too. I feel like it would be a game with a very heavy mystery in the air, with quite a bit of horror. I tend to make characters that like to be in really bad situations, but like to make fun of it and just make a mockery out of it somehow. And just I would love to try to do that in the most horrific situations possible, I guess. That's what I do when I play. And when I'm DM, I get a little bit more serious, a little bit. Like just a tiny bit. Shannon knows. And yeah, I guess something that would just really intrigue me, more story-wise. I can do any setting. I just love I love modern horror fantasies a lot. That's why I'm doing a Savage Worlds, World of Darkness setting. But yeah, I guess that would be my answer, but with like a mystery in the air, like a puzzle to solve.
It's funny because I'd be kind of like a mix of a lot of different things because I kind of have my interests go all over the place. And I feel like for me, I would almost want it'd be like I would want it to be super futuristic, but I want it to be like very space oriented. But I also want it to have fantasy elements, meaning like maybe like you have dwarfs, elves, and orcs be like your pilot, your engineer, and everything else. Like but also like while I'm at it, might as well just throw mech combat in there. Why not? Just have giant hulking air like ship to ship combat or mech combat, or just like make it just super technology driven with a touch of fantasy, almost like if Shadowrun was 1,000 years in the future and it was just super super advanced, and make it like just a total like robotic sci-fi like love letter to everything, and make it like very action-packed narrative, and very much like everyone is their own like mini little like superhero, whatever, action hero. I think that would probably be where I'd go, just because I'd have to have a mix of just like everything I'm interested in. If I was gonna try to have like a perfect system, it'd be really complex and weird, but I would love to see how it would actually like mesh together. Like, would the dwarf mech be like a third of the size of any other mech? Do they have to be proportionate? Do they not have to be proportionate? Like, it would be like fun to like think through all that and like have it like work out in terms of like having like space travel and everything.
So without pitching too terribly much, you really ought to take a look at Aether and Steamworks.
Okay. I'll take a look at it. I'll make a note of that, yeah.
It's available on Drive-Thru RPG.
Yeah, now available on Drive-Thru RPG for the low price of $5. And if you buy it now, you'll get the 1.5 edition later. Not to pitch too much.
Marketing.
So, Mike, I love you.
Well done. Well done.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think, like if I had to pick a setting, I have a thing for like dystopian fantasy. I'm like dystopian books and movies and like games, like those are the kinds of things that I really enjoy. I mean, I also enjoy high fantasy, sort of that medieval high fantasy setting, stuff that's typical in D&D and Pathfinder and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually a little jealous of the our game on Monday that runs, because I really I was like, that's on Monday, but this other stream I've already committed to is also on Monday, and I can't do both, and I really want to, because it's so our stream on Monday night is the one that AtomicZero is in, and it's the 1980s cyberpunk, and I got to help Mike before the show went live. Me and Decider 12 got to play through like the opening session, like what was going to be the first stream. And we got to the end of it and I'm like, damn it, this was a lot of fun. Like, I really like this. So if anybody wants to start up a game like that, I will gladly jump in, because I don't DM. That is not my thing. But
that sounds cool.
Hint, hint. I do not DM either, and it boils down to that I'm lazy. So it really does. Like I think of all these ideas that would be really fun to DM, and then at the end I'm like, oh, that makes me have to like work, and I gotta put things together and plan shit, and it's just
it used to work out really well for me. I was dating somebody for a while, a guy who is a perpetual DM, and like makes all of this homebrew stuff. So he makes his own tables, like he makes his own crit fail tables and crit success tables, and like trying to come up with 100 books that people could find if they were to walk into a library somewhere and stuff like that. So I used to help him like come up with all of this stuff, and it was great because I'm like, I get to come up with all this stuff. It's for a campaign that I don't play in, so I didn't have to worry about ever encountering any of it, but I didn't have to DM it either. So I didn't have to, I could do all the fun world building stuff, but not have to worry about the DMing piece. So
I have a very similar relationship currently. And it does suck though, because I do play the games. So like Monday, whatever the heck day it is. Everybody else is losing days these days is weird. Yeah. But there was like these weird carrion crickets. I like creating animals because, that's just how I roll. So like creatures and things, I'm like, oh, it'd be super fun to like make this cricket go off like the African carnivore cricket, and then like all this stuff like, oh, it can just like eat people, and then it's like, oh, and then you run across this cricket. I'm like, oh no, I made that. I did this to myself. So yeah, you gotta be careful.
So
but
you're the one to blame for that whole thing.
we used it to dispose of corpses, so that was handy.
Yeah, after the initial stress of like,
Aptly
oh god, these things can eat us in very painful ways.
Yeah, slowly. Only if you trip. It's fine.
Give us that Animal Crossing, you cowards.
That's
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. What did I see? I saw something. Oh, somebody posted a video. Speaking of Animal Crossing, somebody posted a video on Twitter, and it was like some encounter that they had with this like random, animal somewhere out wherever, and they were like, "Hey, did you know that there are people that say that we don't actually have control of what happens in this world here?" And it was like this whole like, existential crisis. Like maybe we're not really in control of what happens on our island, and blah blah blah. And then they're like, "Oh, I'm just kidding with you," But it was like, oh man, that was brutal.
Nice.
Animal Crossing has exploded in
really
like the
has.
last couple of weeks. I swear. It's like Animal Crossing was just kind of a passive thing everybody loved. Now it's like Animal Crossing everywhere. Yeah. Like COVID memes and Animal Crossing memes. That's
the
like
only way people are getting out of their house.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right,
God.
because that's how they get from one
dark
from
thought.
one island to another. So
yes.
I'm leaving my tent and you can't stop me, government.
oh my god.
Oh, no.
Oh, and Doom, yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Doom, yeah,
I just
yeah.
and Doom.
Oh,
Yeah.
Doom is
Oh wait,
out
no,
there.
he actually said and Doom.
Doom.
That's
Animal
how
Crossing
I've been
and Doom
wasting my
meme.
time.
Yeah.
That's how I've been distracting myself.
Yeah.
Valid.
Doom?
Yeah.
Just ripping demons into shreds.
Classic.
Oh,
Yeah.
The best
Yeah.
time
Very
waster.
satisfying.
especially. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
No one cares if you kill him.
Oh, and now chat's going nuts. Sorry, guys.
There we go.
Doom, doom, doom,
Get the-
doom,
the-
doom, doom,
Take it to
Two
Doom
titles
song.
to kiok
Yeah.
off any
Right,
party.
I know. Seriously.
Yeah.
Between Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal, you have like every demographic that has ever played any video game.
Oh my
Instant
gosh, that's
universal
funny.
appeal.
Oh.
we have a PlayStation VR headset, and
Oh, yeah, they're so much fun.
they are. And we downloaded
Oh, yeah.
Vacation, the Vacation Simulator, which is like the same people who do Job Simulator. And
my
so we've
gosh.
been doing that. So I've been like bathing
This is
around
the
at the
future.
beach and like playing with little hermit crabs and like taking pictures of Sasquatch, and it's been super fun. And Jacksepticeye, if you the YouTuber, I'm sure everyone knows. I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm like mansplaining Jacksepticeye, but he's got like a little voice in there, and it's highly recommended if you're stuck in the house because of the virus. Like go
Oh.
play Vacation.
That's hilarious.
Oh my
For
gosh.
a moment there, I was like, oh my God, that's sad. And then I was like, wait, it's even sadder that I actually now want to do it just to.
Yeah, it actually kind of seems
that's the
interesting.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it sounds much better than the reality I'm in right now.
I know.
Let's all get
I
it.
mean, you can go to the forest, you can go to the ski like resort on the mountain, and you
Yeah.
can go to the beach. It's wonderful. Make burgers, eat s'mores. Right.
See, the race right now is vaccination and holodeck. That's what the
Oh,
race is
yeah.
happening right now.
We need a holiday.
You
Yeah,
should
like
probably like
PlayStation.
get a vaccination so you can go to a holodeck because
Oh God, yeah.
germs.
Although, if I had a holodeck, I probably wouldn't need vaccinations anymore because no one would ever see me again.
It's true.
That's right.
It's true.
Yeah.
I get
Somebody in chat just said, "Have any of our guests played Paranoia?"
No.
No,
Nope.
Mm.
have
No,
not.
me neither.
I know the
All right, well, that was
song, but like,
Next.
It's kind of in
Right.
vein with like it's Cthulhu-esque, isn't it? It's kind of that like
Oh,
thriller mind, like psycho thriller type.
yeah. I think I remember hearing about it, but I never had the chance.
Mercer and Friends did a thing shortly into.
Didn't they even turn
Geek
that
and
into
Sundry
like a
days, I think.
video game too? Like the TTRPG and stuff? I remember hearing something like that. But
Yeah, I
haven't seen
vaguely
things
remember
up.
hearing something about it, but Paranoia is dark humor about clones.
Yeah,
Oh.
I like dark
dystopian
humor
science.
and
fiction.
coons.
They had me in dark.
So, like I said, Call of Cthulhu.
Neat.
Yeah,
with
dystopian
clones.
science.
They've been off the
Yeah,
mark on that one. I have been wrong before.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would want to. The idea of playing a game with a bunch of clones kind of weirds me out. I don't know. But then that whole dystopian thing again. So
Everyone's
yeah.
a Cylon. It's fine.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all good.
As you like Fallout in Fallout 4, there was like the synths, which were kind of cloney people in a dystopian era.
There was Gary in the I think Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas.
Yep.
Oh,
one of the vaults, just like a ton of Garys.
Yes.
Yep.
All the gear. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Actual clones.
About that.
Oh my gosh. And so we're back to that again.
What, Canadians?
If you were to build like, oh yeah, sorry, what? Oh,
like, sorry. They even said sorry.
I know. I feel bad. I was telling him about how badly we pick on yachts earlier before the show. So yeah, we were like,
oh, it's yachts, is it? Yachts.
Yes, yeah.
That's my kindred. All right.
Yes,
you and me, yachts. You and me.
Yeah.
We'll hold it down.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys know each other, the tiny little country of Canada.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I passed,
everyone knows each other.
That's right. I passed yachts at a respectable social distance apart from one another today.
Well done.
Yeah. We went to the store in Canada, the one that's there.
One store that everyone is
6
waiting in line to hold a door
That's
for.
Tim Hortons, right? Is it?
That's right.
That's the only Tim Hortons, right? That's the only thing you have.
Only Tim Hortons, right? And we were fighting over the last moose burger.
That's what it is. Yes.
But it wasn't really a fight. I just saw him looking.
But you had to have a shootout.
Absolutely. I was
right?
like, whatever you need.
You had to have a shootout in order to do it. Yeah.
You take it. No, you take it.
And the burger is still on the shelf at the Tim Hortons.
Right. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we are going to be going to break in just a minute. But I did just want to let people know, for those of you that are part of streaming communities, one of the things that we got up and running today is How I Nerd now is heading up a Twitch team called Storytellers Union. And it is exclusively meant for streams that stream TTRPG content. So if your community is not part of a Twitch team, I was going to stumble over that really badly. You can go to our website, howinerd.com, and get more information about it. And, if you're interested in applying for it, feel free. And if you don't run a stream that does it, feel free to let people know that that's an option out there, and, they can go ahead and check it out. Breaker is like, damn, I'm hungry now. Moose burgers.
Tell you, they're delicious.
Very delicious.
All right. Well, we are going to take like a quick, maybe 5-10 minute break. Let our guests go refill their drinks, use the restrooms, whatever they may need to do. And we will be back shortly. So stick around and we'll see you on the flip side. I'm totally going to use that one sometime.
Wait, what was that again? I just need to...
You're marching my mellow.
We're back.
We're getting the hot sauce.
In case you guys weren't sure, we were having our mellows marshed, apparently.
It's true.
So marshed. The marshiest of mellows.
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
I liked that.
Oh my gosh. Well, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around during the break, and hope you're ready to settle back in for another hour of conversation. So if you're in chat, feel free, please, to remember to drop us questions if you have any. Otherwise, we're just going to take this train and run with it. Like, we're going to talk about whatever we want, and Mike's going to disappear, and we'll have total control, and it'll be anarchy.
Yay!
Yay, anarchy! No,
Dictator Luna.
Rock on.
Wait, that's the opposite. I'm confused.
I don't know.
Michael come back and like, why is my channel banned? What?
What? Did
Don't leave the kids alone.
Banned from internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike. Sorry, we're not allowed to stream on Twitch anymore. No.
Womp womp.
Right. All right. So I was thinking over the break, one thing that I would really love to hear from you guys is about current projects that you're working on. So I'm going to go around and just have you all talk a little about what are some things you're currently doing, whether on stream or off stream, and what's what do you have coming up that you're looking forward to doing too? If you have anything coming up that you're excited about. So let's see, Brad, why don't we start with you?
All right. Yeah, my problem has always been too many projects. I have an idea and I want to just jump all over everything. My background is in digital marketing, content marketing, social media marketing. So I've always kind of tried to play in that realm. I kind of really pulled everything back and started with Twitter content development, building out, starting conversations on Twitter. The community there is really great, and that sort of inspired me to get back into streaming. I launched my actual play called the Charisma Check podcast on the Speaking Common podcast. So I built Speaking Common, which is a set of podcasts that is the weekly D&D news. So I cover news from around the community as well as news from Wizards of the Coast, news about the game, things like that. I also have Dungeon Masterful, which is a one-on-one kind of interview type podcast. Yeah, and then we just launched, my actual play, which is actually going into its 2.5 year. But we've been recording all this time. It started as a Twitch broadcast. It was very kind of like in person in the round. It was shot in my living room 2 years ago. But as we were saying earlier, ultimately, like the effort of running the game and managing all the tech caught up with me. So we converted it to a podcast. So that's one big thing that I've been focusing on. And then as I started to branch out into more content, I need a home. So we launched, I always say we, it's just me, guys. There's no we. Yeah, it's me, my wife, and our 3 pets. But they don't have anything to do with it. It's ShambazzleGames.com, one word. So just launched that. It's very much a work in progress. And I'm looking at getting back into the world of streaming. So when you say things like, we've got a team that's focused on, the storytelling aspects of gaming, I think if I am going to re-enter the streamosphere, then it's going to be something like that. It's going to be about game prep, map making, and storytelling. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's kind of the horizon.
Yeah, I was scoping out your website earlier today, and I was showing it to Mike, and I was like, look at all this cool stuff he's got. Yeah, so you've got a lot of really cool stuff on your Mike's like, I vote you do it. Yeah, you've got a lot of really great stuff on your website. So
thank you. It's just launch content. We're gonna do a lot more.
Yeah.
But my wife and I do have a video on making your own hand sanitizer, which is pretty fun. So check that out.
Wow.
It's all good.
And very relevant.
Specifically for TTRPGs, right?
Yes, yeah. That's the only, we keep it topical. So yeah. But it was definitely an adventure.
First you roll a d20, then you get.
There may have been a critical fail involved, so it's not totally off.
Everybody died.
Yeah.
That's right.
We added too much alcohol, and that was that.
Yep. But my hands are clean as.
Oh gosh. Brian, what about you? What do you have going on these days?
So a lot of what I have going on. So mainly I am on the Monday night stream for How I Nerd. So that's the Nexus Zero where I play Jesse Raines. Which, for those who were kind of wondering what we were talking about, or Luna and I were talking about beforehand. So Jesse is very much the chaotic character of the group that we have. He is a guy who peaked in high school and never left there, and has a bit of a drug problem. So he's an interesting little character. So he's fun to play. So he takes up a lot of my time. But besides that, I have a couple other projects that I'm hoping to come to fruition that are probably a little bit further down the line. I think Mike talked about a little bit some of them, so I'm trying to figure out which ones I can or cannot talk about. Mostly on the How I Nerd network. I was thinking about trying to do stuff of my own, but between that and like my off content production stuff, so like I run a D&D game on D&D 5e game on Wednesdays that I've been writing myself and like kind of like managing myself. So that's been one of my bigger projects recently, at least personal projects. But with How I Nerd, I'm working on trying to launch another PC gaming podcast that I used to have a podcast way back when called Addicted to Loot, which ran for 2+ years on PC gaming, which I really loved and adored, but unfortunately the project had to end. So I'm hoping to try to get a similar thing going here on the How I Nerd network. So that's one thing that I have in the works. And potentially another TTRPG-esque thing on the How I Nerd channel in the works as well. But I thought about trying to get back into like solo content creation, either YouTube videos or streaming again. I'm slowly realizing between my offline stuff and how I nerd stuff and everything else, I'm slowly losing hours of sleep. So I'm trying to figure out if what I really should be doing.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to figure out or like reevaluating now, just like if I want to do any additional projects off of all this and everything else, or try to like expand my horizons anywhere else and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Brian, AtomicZero is in our Monday show, which is the Neural Nexus Zero. That's here on How I Nerd Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Definitely check it out. They've only had 2 episodes so far, right?
Yep.
So now's a great time to jump in because you still have time to catch up and catch the live show again on Monday. So I definitely recommend it. It was a lot of fun.
It's a fun time.
Scene, yeah. It's a good show with a great cast. So yeah, good times, good times. Shannon, what do you have going on?
Let's see. So I'm do things on the Dice Tyrants. There's all sorts of I think everyone's like noodles are cooking right now because it's just there's time and a lot of folks don't have things to do, or there's like this exciting market that's starting right now. It's like, oh my god, everybody's captive in the house. We gotta do some things to get people to watch our shit. So which is exciting. So there's a lot of things I can't talk about right now that are going on, which I'm excited for.
Yeah.
I'm loving both. I have 2 active TTRPG campaigns, one of which is Savage Worlds of Darkness, which is these 2 folks, the Sinan and the Luna. And then Aether and Steamworks on Tuesdays, which is a fun character too. They're very, very different, which is fun, and do different voices, which is always fun. So that's really what I have going on. And then also doing work and momming and work.
Whatever.
Stuff I have to use to buy the things I need to be able to do the things I want to do, you know?
Right.
It's time consuming and annoying. Damn capitalism. But yeah, no, that's what I'm doing.
Fair enough. Sinan, what about you?
Well, my outside of stream life is unfortunately kind of stopped now because of everything that's going on. I'm an actor and producer. I like a trained actor here in New York, and almost all the projects I'm involved in that were gonna basically happen around this time have all been delayed. So once this stops, we're probably gonna have to get really busy and not be gonna be able to stream for a while, possibly. I don't know. Hopefully not. I'll figure it out. But so nothing going on there. My theater company launched just right before this started happening, for example, which was quite unfortunate. But that gives me a lot of time to act role-playing. I mean, basically do this, which is also another form of acting, basically, which I'm enjoying a lot, which was also kind of why I wanted to get into this, which was because like storytelling and acting and also playing games, things I love, meeting in one, and making stuff up, you know.
Bullshitting.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah.
I excel at somehow. I don't know, maybe. So in the streaming sphere, I guess I'm also streaming. I'm in a bunch of games in the Dice Tyrants with that Shannon was talking about. I'm in their Sunday game Chronicles of Kind, where I play a Cockney-speaking rodentine, a cleric who's just basically pisses off everyone, which is a lot of fun. And
not the audience, though. We all love it.
Apparently, the audience love me and the players hate me, which is, you know,
perfect.
just perfect. Yeah, it's great. If they try to kill me, people will revolt, which will be fun. And if they don't, I'll just get to annoy them. And on Tuesdays, I'm in the Aether and Steamworks game that Shannon's is also a part of, which is the character I was talking about earlier. And I'm also DMing the Savage Worlds of Darkness. That's also Luna is part of.
Yeah.
Happens on Mondays. It's a Savage Worlds conversion of the World of Darkness lore, but a little bit of twists into it as well. Which with the Savage Worlds rule set becomes very interestingly pulpy and wacky and interesting. It's kind of like a comic book almost, and I made it in such a way where it's like it's done by the story is of it's a bunch of supernatural creatures working for a very corporate law enforcement organization, basically, that has dominated the supernatural world, and they're the New York branch. And so it's like 2-3 episode cases. So it's like very consumable. Their story continues, but it's like you can jump in and probably catch everything you need in an episode, except for their overall arcs. Maybe you need a little bit more, but yeah, it's so drop in any time and you probably have a fun time. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm into. I'm also in Dice Tyrants' one shot that's happening on Friday, which is really exciting, where I play a tiefling pirate in a 5e game. But yeah,
tiefling pirate? I did not know that.
Oh, I'm excited.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's great. And
awesome.
Disc, what do you have going on these days?
Well, I'm in an upcoming campaign starting next week, Tabletop Tavern 2. I'm very excited for that. Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun.
But other than that, I'm kind of just, doing a bunch of other things. Sunday I have a game, Monday I have a game, Wednesday I will have this game coming up. Fridays I have a game. I'm looking for something Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but I'm currently writing a campaign for Starfinder. It's going to be a pretty wide scope, and it's mostly homebrew. So writing an entire galaxy that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm really excited about the Tabletop Tavern 2 starting up. So for those who have been familiar with our channel, we started with Tabletop Tavern. That's our game that's been going on for about a year, a little over a year. And yeah, I think we just hit 32 episodes. And then we launched this show as our second show, Tales from the Tavern. And then Neural Nexus Zero went live a couple weeks ago, which that's been a real labor of love for Mike. That's been probably 8 months in the making, just between getting players ready and graphics and the whole 9 yards. And then, yeah, next week we go live with show number 4. So that's exciting. That's going to be fun. I'm excited about that one too, because now that I'm more familiar with the Pathfinder rule set, it'll be fun to play for me with an entirely different group of people. One of the things I told Mike is I have to make sure that my 2 characters don't come across the same, because I'm kind of afraid that might happen. But yeah, that'll be fun. So yeah, the only show that I'm not in right now on How I Nerd is the Monday night one. So
we call dibs.
I know, pretty much. Like, keep telling Mike, I'm like, Mike, we got to get some crappy shows on here so that I don't want to be in everything anymore.
Right?
Yeah. Crappier programming.
Right?
Yes.
Every time he comes to me and he's like, somebody wants to do this, and I'm like, oh, I want to be in that. And then he's like, somebody wants to do this, and I'm like, I want to be in that too. And then he's like, oh, I really want to run this. And I'm like, oh, come on. And then, of course, last night, we were in a session 0. Well, it was really more technical setup for it. And somebody said something. I don't remember exactly what was said, but it sprung a light bulb moment. And I went, oh my God, I'm going to write a one-shot, because I need to take on one more thing. So,
nice to have hobbies, Luna. It's okay. Let yourself go.
I know, it's funny. You would feel like the way I feel like my schedule is sometimes I'm like, this is my full-time job and my job is my hobby, but but I'm not complaining, because this is so much more fun than my daytime job. So, it is what it is. But yeah. Trying to look in. I just want to check and see if any other questions have come in that I've missed. Oh, one person asked, lots of players hoard RPG books and tabletop games. How many books or games do you own that you don't play, and which do you most want to?
I don't know if I want to count all my books.
Most of the games that I mentioned that we played in systems, I have the book for, or at least 1 or 2 of the books for. And then Exalted, I think we have I mean, this is a collection, a family collection, but I think we have like 10 of those books. They went book crazy. So lots of books. Why? It's a personal question. I don't want to answer anymore. I feel personally attacked.
I feel very like targeted from that, or not targeted, but like spoke to me that question. My room was full
Hit
of
you deep in your soul, huh?
Oh yeah.
Why do you
room was
mention
full
it?
of basically board games or like tabletop books and board games, or all sorts of things that I haven't had the chance to play, but I just like saw and I was like, this seems cool.
Well, they're pretty. TTRPG books are always pretty.
And they look really nice too. They look quite cool.
Yeah.
What I would like to play that I haven't played though amongst them is I saw that there's a game called Cult that looks really cool that I got because of just like the design and the aesthetics seem really interesting. It's like another like kind of Call of Cthulhu-esque horror game set in I think modern day horror where you realize everything was a lie and they're like demons watching everyone. It's like Dark City, or at least what I've understood, the movie Dark City kind
Yeah.
of. And I got it. I'm going to read it at one point and get very excited and realize how I don't have time to run it and get really sad about that fact. So, I want to delay that feeling for a little bit, but I also want to read it.
Sinan, I know you have a theater company now. There is a theater troupe near here that does improv RPGs as a theater show.
You told me about that, and that sounded so cool. I was kind of looking if there's anything like that in New York that I could do. My theater company, I don't know if could do something like that. It's more of like a Middle Eastern political plays. Kind of other, not necessarily Middle Eastern, but like or international with a little focus there. But I do want to do something like that as well. So I'm sort of having my eye out, being like, if there should be one in New York somewhere. I don't know.
Well, every production company needs like the in between, like a levity, like just a silly interlude. You could have a intermission or something, perhaps.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Play TTRPGs.
Yeah.
10-minute one-shot interlude. Yeah.
Take a table and like put dice in there, and we're like, okay, let's leave that whole depressing situation for a moment, and let's be
like a bunch of empty Mountain Dew bottles
Wizards.
and Domino's pizza boxes and like all that stuff. Authentic.
Oh my God.
I wonder if there's ever been a case where an entertainment company was like, do we want to do like a live D&D thing? I don't know. Do you think it would work? You know what? Let's try it.
Yeah.
I know a couple of voice actors who have a game going.
Oh yeah, they have that little show on Twitch, right?
Let's give them a pilot. We'll see how it goes.
That would never go anywhere. It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I have been intrigued to try to gather some of my more game-inclined actor people I know together to play something like to do something like that. But everyone tends to be very busy here right now. But I'm kind of doing it at some point.
Well, when are you flying me to New York? I'm down.
Yeah. Where's the love?
Oh, you're always welcome.
I didn't want to see.
I was gonna say.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, between my physical copies and electronic copies, which may or may not have been, of course, all legally procured, I lost count at 10. Because like Savage Worlds has so many variations of it that I could just go like you could probably get like 10 plus just out of Savage Worlds.
Yeah.
Probably the one I want to play the most out of all the stuff I've kind of squirreled away in my RPG stash is a game called Coriolis, which is it's like an Arabian Night space opera TTRPG. It's one of those things that I really want to try. It's something I have had my eye on for a very long time. So it's just a cool little project that I found.
What's it called?
Called Coriolis. The most recent one is called The Third Horizon. It's the most recent one that came out like a year or two ago. I almost kickstarted it, but yeah, I have tons of various different RPG books and different systems from all over the place, from sci-fi to fantasy to simple to I even have like a superhero one that one of my groups tried at one point in time. Like it's kind of all over the place with different things.
That sounds cool. You have a lot of really cool like fusion things that that you've mentioned that sound really awesome, actually.
I have problems. Like I don't know. Like I need various aspects, various thought processes going on to like keep myself entertained. Apparently, but yeah, I like different things. I like things that are different. But the problem is like when you like things that are like different, like something that's niche or like a new system or anything else like that, it's always hard to find people to play with because some people are like, I'm just a D&D player, or like I just want to stick in my realm, or people don't want to like relearn a brand new system that's like not D20 based or whatever else. But like that's why I have all these random things stashed away because I love the system, and then I could never either find a group or start a group or anything else like that.
Yeah, I have a So when I first started really getting into gaming, like seriously getting into gaming, I was actually like out of college and was married and had a kid already. And my first like big step into gaming was the Dragon Age series. Like that was the game that kind of was like, I was like, oh, like that was when I played. That was when I first really considered myself a gamer. And so I found out not too long after that there's actually a Dragon Age tabletop system.
Yep.
And it's all D6 based, and it's super easy to learn and play, but like nobody knows it exists. And so nobody ever is around to play it except for like my best friend who's like just as Dragon Age crazy as I am. So I'm like, one of these days we're gonna do it, but
I have 2 other rule books from other video games that have been converted into like TTRPGs. A lot of them are just 5e conversions.
Yeah.
Like, I have like a Destiny one, I have a Mass Effect one. Dragon Age was one I've always liked. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
BattleTech has one.
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So those are. I was like, that's the one that I'm like. I actually, it was funny. I brought it to PAX one year and had it signed by a lot of the Dragon Age developers, and they were all like, "Oh my god, now you're speaking our language!" Like a lot of them had never even seen the book before. So, that was really fun. So, what are some ways that gaming has just impacted your life in general? For me, like I actually met my best friend through playing Dragon Age because we were both members of a fan club on Facebook, and like got to talking one day. We were like, hey, there was a bad snowstorm, so I played 8 hours of Dragon Age. Hey, there was a snowstorm where I live too. Oh, guess what? We live in the same state. Oh, we're only an hour away from each other. That kind of thing. And so that like is just for me in general kind of a big impact that it's had. But what about you guys?
Oof.
I posed this to my or I posed this question to my community actually a week ago, and it was more specifically about how have TTRPGs affected your professional life, and that came from personally I found that it's given me a lot of confidence on my feet. Even if I'm giving presentations at work, I work in a creative industry too, so it was like extra flex. It's like the time I spend playing tabletop role-playing games, and I guess in parallel to that, reading like books and things like that from series, just expanded my vocabulary in ways that I don't think any other kind of sideline hobby would have. So for me, it was particularly somebody who works in creative industries. I think it kind of opens your horizons a little bit. It gets you thinking way outside of the box. I have found being a dungeon master or game master has made me a lot faster on my feet. I spent some time training in improv as well, and theater, performing arts. So they all kind of like came together. I think it was just a really good little mix to kind of get you more comfortable in uncomfortable situations, which I think is a valuable skill in a lot of ways.
That always makes me think of like, I hear about like schools, mental health professionals, things like that, using TRPGs more and more as a system to help work with kids and, help teach them life skills and, coping skills and just things like, how to deal with a bully or how to get over some anxiety, something that's causing them anxiety or, something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it really has helped me like socially too. Like I'm able to like think through situations, participate in more conversations basically now. and dealing with a whole lot of stuff. Back when I first started, I just I didn't know anything, couldn't really talk to people. I was really very introverted, and not that that's a bad thing or anything, but I started playing and started getting out of my shell. Started what would my character Theron Stills do in this situation in real life? How would he respond to this person? And then I started talking to people. I started making friends. And I started hanging out, doing a lot of stuff. It helped me a lot, honestly.
With me, well, first of all, it just introduced me to a very lovely community that I just made a lot of wonderful friends. And for example, that I'm especially seeing the effect right now as I find myself stuck in a house in a quarantine in New York. I mean, oh wait, I have a bunch of lovely people that I can reach out and talk to and just hang out and play games and just create, which has been absolutely wonderful. And another thing is, it's kind of given me an outlet to be able to be creative with no restrictions in a way. My industry's very brutal, especially when you're trying to first get into it, like a grad school degree or anything. That some of that stuff usually doesn't mean anything from the get-go. You need to be very persistent and do a lot of things, and you need to be hired to even do anything, be creative and do art, which is not really necessarily the case with any other artists. But here I've been able to, in this community, I've been able to basically be creative and generate, basically have an outlet for that and just find another form of collaboration, like artistic storytelling and collaboration, which has been very interesting to find. And also just creating a story by thinking outside of the box is something that a lot of people don't do, and it's a very valuable skill here, and it's kind of wonderful to discover, which is something I've been enjoying a lot and learned a lot from, and I see it affect my work too, especially when I'm creating material and collaborating with other people. So it's been quite wonderful.
Yep. I think just to tack on everyone else, because I think I've had a very similar situation with community aspects where most of my very close friends have been gamers. They either met because we randomly talked about a game once with each other or anything else like that. I know for me, a lot of different times, gaming has showed me a lot of amazing stories. It's given me a lot of amazing experiences through worlds, in the kind of the escapism of the immersion of a really good game. I know that's something that, I always, the type of game where you go I'm just going to play for 10 minutes and all of a sudden it's Thursday and you're like, what the hell happens? That kind of game, the thing that really pulls you in, it's kind of the same experience that, some people get from books or from movies or from anything else. But for me, I've always had that for a really an amazing game. And I think, lots of times with, especially with being in a very technologically driven world, and as technology keeps on advancing, gaming is one of those things that advances along with it, and the energy and the action and being able to think on your feet and being able to think quicker, being able to have quicker reaction times and things like that. These are all things that gaming really helps with. There was an article I read before where there was a specific hospital or med school that was instructing surgeons to pick up Call of Duty or something to help with their fine motor skills.
I saw that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like gaming can branch out to a lot of very different ways, both utilitarian wise, as well as both from relaxation or therapy wise or anything else like that. Because I know for me, that was always what I enjoyed. I loved having a game at home where I'm either in school or at work going, I just need to make it through 7 more hours that I can play that game. I can just make it. I'm so close to just playing that game one more time. Those are the types of things that I think always had the biggest impact for me when it came to gaming, which motivated my love for gaming. I even have a tattoo of some of the great the games that have really influenced me and things like that. So I think it really can go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I don't have a gaming related tattoo, but I intend to get one. Because like I said, for me, the Dragon Age game was so crucial in my life as a gamer, but also my life in that, you know, it introduced me to my best friend, and, you know, really started kind of opening up this world for me. The loading screen for that game had this really cool circular symbol on it. And so I'm like, one of these days I'm going to take that and get it tattooed around my ankle. And, you know, and then like, because it doesn't, if you don't know what it is, you'd never know that it was from a video
Is that the
game.
one in Origins?
Yes. Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah, right?
Nice.
Because if you don't know that it's from a video game, you'll never know it's from a video game. It's just not an overt symbol. You know, it looks like, you know, kind of like a Celtic symbol or something like that. But people who know it will know it, you know?
Not like Forza or something.
Yeah, totally.
It looks like very like elven and like ornate and like things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, is that a Lord of the Rings tattoo?
Yeah, maybe.
I would do that.
My first
I mean,
tattoo
somebody
was
else
like a
paid for it.
nerdy tattoo.
Nice.
I have a
Mine was
fantasy
a-
one here and sci-fi over here.
A little unicorn. That's what I get.
Aw.
That's my nerdy tattoo. I have others, but yeah. So I want to start like my little soliloquy of why it touched me by saying that it's surprising, but I was always kind of weird. I'm exactly the same now as I was when I was a kid, only like I have some control over it. So, and I know, again, another little caveat here, I know you should not seek validation outside of yourself. However, video games and TTRPG games gave me like, there's parts of my personality that I always kind of liked that I was kind of bullied for. Not really kind of, like I got bullied a lot. And so, and then in TTRPGs being goofy or being clever or making dad jokes or these weird things back and forth and being quick on your feet, things like that, like being kind of smart and quick and intelligent is rewarded in things like video games and in TTRPGs. So it made me feel good because these are the talents everybody's kind of like, you suck, you're weird, you're too loud, you're too bubbly, you're too whatever. And I'm like, well, fuck you, here I am like kicking ass at this game, or, you know, or I'm making people laugh on stream, or, you know, like whatever. So it helped, I guess, boost my self-esteem, if that's the cheesiest thing I think I've ever said in my life. But yeah, and then of course going back to like friends, because then you're like, oh my gosh, look at all these other weirdos out here that I totally identify with that are like the same kind of weird that I am. That's the coolest thing ever. So, you know, it brings together all of our, I don't know, all this little like loose ends, those people that, you know, like, well, what does regular society have planned for us? Like, we're maybe not in the STEM, you know, areas and things like that. We're like the weirdos, the artists, the bohemian, you know, like things like that. And I think that that's like that breed has transformed into the gamer and the TTRPGer. Not to maybe talk us up too much, but that's what I think.
I mean, we are pretty rad, so.
I mean, right?
It's the normal people. The normal people are the problem. That's what it is.
True.
That's it. That's what it is. All right, we've solved that. Let's move on to world peace.
Yeah. People need to be weirder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be weird.
I actually kids to be weirdos. Do it.
Basically.
Yeah.
True.
Actually, it was really funny. The very first episode of this show, I don't remember what the context was, but I actually coined one of our merch T-shirts that I'm very excited to say that I own it, where it says Nerdaste instead of Namaste, and the nerd in me honors the nerd in you.
Oh yeah, I do like that a lot.
Great.
Yeah, so I was bummed because I ordered it. I ordered one for my best friend and one for me, and I was really hoping that it would come in time for PAX, and it got delayed by like a day, so it came the day after I got home from PAX East. And I was like, no, I was so disappointed. Because I was like, that's the perfect shirt to wear. And then I was, you know, my friend and I, her birthday actually fell on the last day of PAX East. Actually, so if anybody saw that video today that Mike dropped on Twitter, like that's just kind of our little community one. At the very end, we were all singing happy birthday to her in the lobby at PAX East. We were singing it very loud and very obnoxiously, as we are known to do on this channel. Loud and obnoxious, yay! Yay! So, you know, it was funny. We were joking that if it had come in time, we were going to just walk around to everybody and go, Nerdaste, Nerdusting. Nerdusting.
That's what you're all there for, to
Right,
recognize
totally.
and celebrate the nerd within us all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I love about PAX East is, and Mike mentions this all the time too, is that there's such this. I mean, we all know that like the gaming community is a community, but the theme of the I say the show is in the sense of like a gaming show, is welcome home. And like literally, it's like that. It's like a homecoming every year because you might see people there that you only see once a year at PAX East or at whatever convention you go to, and it's just such a nice feeling. It's like, oh, like finally I'm with my peeps. Like
I have
like,
something to talk about with literally every single one of these like 1,500 people. Like I will be able to find a thing.
Yeah, I always jokingly say, so the building that PAX East is in can hold 45,000 people, and they use the entire building.
45,000?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a big building.
45,000. Wow, that's a big
45,000.
building.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
massive
big convention
building.
hall in Boston, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. I'm from
And-
Podunkington, so it's a big building.
So I always jokingly say that PAX East is me and 45,000 of my closest friends. So,
That's sweet.
it kind
I
of
love that.
it's kind of true.
The only New Year's resolution I made this year was that I was going to promise myself I'd attend more conventions.
Oh no!
Your fault that there is this COVID outbreak.
That's right. The one
Conventions
time
of
they
one.
listened to me. The one time.
Yeah.
Super
Oh my
cool.
gosh.
Be fine.
Go figure.
So,
Good
Go figure.
CouchCon it is.
It's funny that you mentioned that. One of the groups that I'm in on Facebook is actually called Consolation 2020, CONSELA, like cancellation, but consolation. And so it's basically for all the people who didn't get to go to their convention because of all of it. So like they have a group set up, like that's the people will put in a post like, it's movie time, what movie are we watching in this room, or and then people will list off like all the nerdy movies they can think of. And then there's another group that's the dealer's room, so anybody who wants to like list their Etsy shop or their their indie
that
game
kind
or
of
stuff
dealer.
like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I was
that
gonna
kind
say,
of
like-
Gone a different direction.
not Jesse's dealer.
Yo, man, you want some games?
Oh.
I do.
Or a gram of games or a dime of games?
Or in Canada, we just
Gram
call
of
it a room.
All of it. All
Yeah.
of
Ooh,
it.
what's that all about?
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, well, we are almost out of time. So I am going to just ask everybody to go around one more time. Tell us who you are and where we can find you on the interwebs. Disc, let's start with you.
Well, I'm Removed Disc, pretty much everywhere except for Twitter for some reason, where I'm Disc Removed. So just look it up and you'll find me somewhere.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really use a lot of my social medias. You could find me here on Wednesday.
Yeah. All right. Sinan, what about you?
Well, my name is Sinan Edzajwasher. You can actually look me up and find me around too. My things might probably pop up in Google. But besides that, I'm on. I stream in the Dice Tyrants primarily. You can just write Dice Tyrants, and we have our Twitch
I'll
channel.
do a shout out for you guys.
And I can just write my full name here in case people want to.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's me.
Mike, the shout out's not working.
Oh, now I have to Google Remove Disc's name.
Oh no, don't! There's a lot of
You just
surgical
told me
pictures.
not to. You told me not
I
to,
made
though.
the mistake. I made the mistake so you don't have to.
Oh Lord. All right. Well, I tried to do a shout out for Dice Tyrants, but it's there. Go look them up. And let's see. Brad, how about you?
Yeah, I'm Brad. I'm at ShambazzleGames everywhere on the World Wide Web. If you type at ShambazzleGames in chat, it'll give you my Twitter handle.
I dropped your link in chat too. So
Boom.
Thank you. Yes, that's the new website. So if you want a one-stop shop, go there. I'm most active on Twitter. So hopefully see you around the Twitterverse. Toss me a follow. I'll follow you back. We'll get linked up. And thank you very much for having me on tonight. This was a real blast. And
thanks so much
we'll
for
have
coming.
more
You
opportunities.
definitely come back anytime.
I'm so sold. That's great.
Awesome. AtomicZero.
So I am AtomicZero, also known as Brian. You can mostly catch me on Something with How I Nerd, whether it's on our Monday night stream or on our Discord. And for anything else outside of How I Nerd, I am at TTV_AtomicZero on Twitter. For Twitch, I'm at twitch.tv/AtomicZero. And I think that's everywhere you can find me right now. So those are probably the biggest places you can find me. But most likely just anything with How I Nerd, and you can eventually find me down.
Cool. Shannon.
I'm Shannon, Glitzen Gamer. I am generally exclusively on Dice Tyrants. As I said, I'm lazy, so I'm super happy to have them produce the things that I play in and stuff, and not have to manage my own things. I am getting better at being on Twitter. So you can find me on Twitter at Glitzen Gamer. It's Glitz N_gamer, because somebody else already had it already. So don't message her because, well, I don't know. She might be nice. Cool. Go ahead and message her. Why not? Just like us both. And then I'm in on Mondays in Savage Worlds of Darkness. And then on Tuesdays, I am in Aether and Steamworks. And then, yeah, I think that's it right now. Oh my gosh.
All right. And I am Gamer Mom Luna, also known as Luna. You can find me all over the interwebs at Gamer Mom Luna, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Facebook. So here I pretty much reside on the How I Nerd channel. I'm the community manager for How I Nerd. I am the host of Tales from the Tavern. And you can catch all of our shows Sunday night, Tabletop Tavern, 8 p.m. Eastern. We just changed the time of that, so we are at 8 p.m. Eastern now. Monday night, you can catch Neural Nexus Zero at 9 p.m. Eastern. On Tuesday nights, we take the night off because we like to breathe a little bit. And then Wednesday nights, starting next Wednesday, April 1st, you can catch Tabletop Tavern 2.
An April Fool's joke?
It's not, actually. We really will be starting that day. And then Thursday nights, you can catch us right here, Tales from the Tavern, at 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget about the stream team that started up, Storytellers Union. For anybody who's interested, you can hit up our website, howinerd.com. It's also a great one-stop shop for all of our videos and content and news and all of that good stuff. So thank you all so much for being here. We are actually going to drop a raid on Nerd League Gaming. They've got a show going on right now. So we're going to go say hi to them, show them a little love. If you're a subscriber to the channel, please drop those emotes when you get over there and tell them where you came from. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thanks so much for coming out, and we'll see you again soon.
Hey, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.